I got into this field quite a proxy, and there were two factors involved. One was I had a niece from Lucknow. She had come, she was staying with me, she was looking for a job. And so I asked her, I mean, we've got to start somewhere. What would you like to do? She said, I like to sing. And I said, okay. I didn't know anything about recording studios. I asked a few people, and they said there's a studio in Vadala where you can go and record yourself, and they have tracks. You sing along with the tracks. And she liked popular Hindi film music. So I called up, made an appointment. Mr. Nandi Dugal, who was a former playback singer, he owns the studio. He was the one who spoke to me. So when we went there, and she was recording, and he came across to me. I was sitting there in the console room, and he said, you have a very nice voice. I said, thank you, but I haven't come here to sing. It's my niece who's singing. He said, your niece lacks the foundation, classical foundation. To get into this field, you need a solid foundation in singing. But you have potential as a voiceover or narrator or something like that. And I said, okay, thank you very much. And being an elderly man, I said, okay, I'll definitely give it some thought. But I never gave it much importance. Later on, I had a Swiss friend of mine who was exporting granite and marble, and also making pens and so on for gifts, corporate gifts. He was a very good friend of mine. He belongs to the famous Swiss Hertig family. He's the son of the Hertig group. And he was holding an event in Sea Rock, and he wanted me to organize a skit. So the people I got, some of them had some theatre experience, but the others had totally no experience. And we were going to have celebrities sitting in the audience. So there was always this fear. I mean, they were not, when they got their dialogues right, they were messing up what they were supposed to do. So I said, if this is the way it's going, on the final day, they're going to freeze, they're going to get stage fright or something, and we can't afford to have that. So I decided to do the entire narrative of the story. So they didn't have to bother with dialogues, they just had to do what they had to do. After the whole function was over, Dolly Thakur, who's quite a celebrity, and a good friend of Johannes's, asked Johannes who wrote this and who directed it and all that sort of thing. And Johannes said, my friend Anil. Oh, okay. And whose voice was that? He's got seems to have an amazing timing for comedy. Because it's just not narrative, he's got a gift for timing, because to make it funny. So he said, that was also done by Anil. And she said, okay, who is this Anil? I've been in media for so many years, I've been in theatre, I've never heard of this person. So he called me and introduced me, and she asked me whether I was a voiceover artist, and I didn't know what a voiceover artist was. And she said, you know, the people who give their voices for documentaries and commercials and so on. I said, no, I'm in the Merchant Navy, and I'm quite happy there. I enjoy my premium scotch and my Havana cigars, and I'm very happy doing what I do. And she said, you should really give it some thought, because if you are good at it, you can still have your premium scotch and your Havana cigars. That played on my mind, and that's the time I saw an ad for a workshop being conducted by Pratap Sharma, who's a legend. And I had heard Pratap Sharma's voice many years ago in the Andaman Islands for the Sonne Lume, the sound and light show in the cellular jail. I still remember going with a few of my friends from the ship, going there, sitting on those steps, and then pouring ourselves a Bacardi and cola and lighting up a cigarette, and when this voice came out. His voice had a great impact on me. I was really impressed. I was blown away. In fact, I had goosebumps when I heard that voice coming over the sound system. And the entire sound and light show, started to unfold. That had a great impact. So when I saw his name, Pratap Sharma, and I said, he's the man I want to join. And I joined the workshop, and during the workshop I realized I probably have some skills, that are needed for this line of work. And Mr. John Israel also was there for some of the studio sessions, and he said, you have got what it takes. And Pratap Sharma was also very encouraging. They told me I should pursue it. And I pursued it. I said, I'll give it 3 years. If it works, it works. I was a single parent, and I was desperately in need of getting out of the ship life. Okay. My son was staying with my brother at that time. So I got into this. The first 2 years were a struggle, because I didn't know how to market myself. I knew I had some talent, and those days I actually recorded stuff in some studios, and I didn't know many studios, and they were on cassettes, and I was computer illiterate. I actually went into town, and as you know, taxis don't take you short distances.
No.
And these production houses are all very close to each other. There I was walking in the hot sun from one to the other, going and giving them my card and one cassette. And finally, I guess I learned how to use a computer. And once I learned, because my son was doing a PowerPoint presentation, and I saw all these letters coming, and I said, "Son, how do you do this?" He said, "Dad, I would gladly explain to you, but but you don't even know the basics. You're a computer illiterate." Now that word "computer illiterate" was ringing in my head, and I was 47 years old. I said, whatever age I am going to learn how to use a computer. And to me, a computer was rocket science. I was afraid, intimidated. And so I learned that using a computer, I could email my samples and so on. I don't have to walk in the hot sun. And that was a big step for me. And in 2 years down the line after I joined, some work I had done was being edited in Indo Studio when Mr. Mohan Hari had walked in, and he heard the voice and he said, "I like that voice, it sounds sincere. I want it for my next documentary film." Now, Mohan Hari is a national award winner for documentaries and so on. And the studio guy said, "See, he's a newcomer, why don't you get one of the more experienced guys?" He said, "Look, many of the experienced guys sound very corporate when they do documentaries." He said, "Mine is a documentary of people dying. It's about an earthquake in Gujarat. People dying and, powerful visuals of a mother lying under a beam, concrete beam, and a small girl crying. These are the visuals, very powerful visuals, and I want a voice that can bring out the emotion." So they called me and I did it. 3 months later, I got a call from Mohan Hari saying, "Anil, remember the documentary you did with me?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "Was there a problem, any pronunciation problem or anything?" He said, No. It's an entry from India at the International Film Festival."
Wow.
No, I think I got wings to fly then when I heard this. Here I was, a newcomer. And of course, it was eventually shown at the Russian Cultural Center here in Mumbai. And because it's an entry from India, most of the media people had gone for this. And when they saw my name in the credits, they'd never heard of me. They said, "Who's this guy? But let's find out where he recorded it. We can get his number." And the Indo Studio had come then. So everyone knows Indo Studio. They called it Indo, and they said, "It's a guy called Anil Mani." They gave my number, and I started getting calls. And that's how my career kicked off. Friends of mine, seeing me slowly getting into this and hearing my voice on National Geographic and history, Fox History and so on, they wanted me to guide their children. So I was doing it free. And then it became a bit of a nuisance. See, when you do something free, people don't take it seriously.
That's true.
They do. Here I am. I fix my appointment so that I can accommodate this person coming in the morning, and that person doesn't come. My morning is wasted. And I could be losing money, And then I said, no, from now on I charge. And I started charging for it and conducting it, conducting classes. I'm following the same system followed by people like Bill Murray in the United States, where they have, if it's a group, they take a small group. Of course, they also take celebrities on a one-to-one, which I also do. The advantage of a small group is that they can get more of one-to-one attention. And mine is a hands-on system where everybody comes and records each exercise. The exercises are played back to them, and I actually show them where they've gone wrong or how they could do something better. So that has a great impact. I mean, a recording device is like a mirror which shows you what you look like. Here, a recording device shows you what you sound like. There are many classes where there are 20 or 25 people and somebody is asking them to read, and after they've read and sat down, he gives a whole list of things that were wrong, and none of those is going to register. Whereas when you actually play it and say, look, this is wrong, this should have been like this, and you could see the results in about 5 sessions, and it's on record for people to see. It's not something I'm just talking about.
Correct.
And the students themselves can see, okay, this is where I was, this is what I sound like now.
How does a common man or somebody interested
to get into the field?
Yeah, whether first of all, does he or she know that he has a good voice or she has a good voice?
This is a misconception that you have to have an extraordinary voice to be a successful voiceover artist.
Because, for example, we hear a lot of bass in your own voice here.
Right.
So many people think that I have a very thin voice. I am, not sounding that manly. Or
Okay.
so many people don't even try to, explore this
Okay.
option.
Let me just dismiss some myths here. First of all, okay, you said I have a deep voice. A deep voice has its uses. A not so deep voice, a boyish voice, or a teenage kind of voice has its own uses. I mean, there are times when you need a product like an ice cream or something. I think a teenage voice is much more suitable for an ice cream ad, or
Right.
or some of these gizmos, these phones, these teeny bopper kind of phones.
Correct.
I think his voice will appeal, his or her voice will appeal to the children. But then again, if you're talking of diamonds or an expensive high-end car, like a Porsche or a Merc, you would either want an older woman or an older man. If it's a car, invariably it'll be a guy. Particularly these powerful SUVs that have come out now, like Porsches and Mercs. I think men will identify with a male voice. And if it's diamonds, either a male voice or a mature male voice or a mature woman. I mean, I don't think any woman is going to be convinced if some teenage girl is telling her to buy these diamonds.
Right.
It's not
Right.
believable. It is not happening. So that is a misconception. Now, second part is, your voice is generated by a group of muscles. And like all muscles, they can be strengthened and conditioned, like you do in a gym. There are exercises that help you develop timbre and resonance.
Okay.
And you learn how to project it. I have with me audiovisuals of people who have very forgettable voices. For instance, you sit and watch an audiovisual of theirs, you hear the whole thing, you enjoy it, but when you come out, the whole audiovisual in totality, that stays in your mind. It's not the voice. And contrary to popular belief, even if you had a very deep voice or a very good voice, you should not, as far as possible, try not to overpower the entire package.
Correct.
Especially in the case of documentary films like wildlife and so on. Your voice should blend in. It blend in with the whole package. And when somebody comes out after watching a documentary or something, you should feel that was a good documentary. If that person comes out and says, wow, what a voice that was, there's something wrong. That voice was overpowering. Actually, if anything should overpower, the visuals should overpower in a documentary film, not the voice. So, maturity demands that you try and, your voice should support the visuals, not dominate or overpower it.
Right.
It's like eating an Indian curry. And no masala should be too much. You shouldn't have too much chili. You shouldn't have too much. Everything should blend together to have a good dish. You should come out and say, wow, that was a lovely chicken curry. And not, my God, the chili was too much or the salt was too much. That should not be the way it is.
Got you.